I wonder how one could relate the subconscious to one's own natal chart,
Yes.
right? Because there's so much talk about the subconscious and do this and manifest this. And so I'm a little around the word manifestation.
Welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, the show for disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries who know they're here to change the damn world. I'm Kylie Patchett, your voice and visibility catalyst, and here we dive into unapologetic truth, magnetic messaging, and visibility that actually feels good in your body, your bones, and your business. We share the stories of the out-of-the-box, neuro-sparkly, creative, witchy wild ones rewriting how we live, love, learn, and lead. This isn't about being louder. It's about being rooted, resonant, and regulated so you can be real, raw, and ready to roar. If you're done contorting yourself to fit the mold and you're ready to own your voice, your power, and your place in the revolution, welcome home. Let's dive in. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I have the beautiful Nic MacDowall in the house. How are you, Nic?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
I'm
Excited
so
to be
excited for
here.
this. I'm excited for this chat because you and I have known each other for a little while now. Our paths collided in the intuitive human design world. But I think before that, I had already started following you on Instagram because you know how we were just talking about how people just come into your path when they're meant to. So
Yeah, exactly.
you are the authentic astrologer on Instagram. Would you like to
Yeah.
introduce yourself and what you do in the world?
Yeah, so I go by the authentic astrologer, and it's not to, be like, oh, I'm the only authentic astrologer out there. But I chose that name because I look at the visible sky, right? So it's True Sidereal. I reference the true visible sky, which to me is authentic
Yeah.
astrology.
Yes.
And yeah, so I work with astrology. I read or translate people's natal charts.
Yeah.
And I also do True Sidereal human design. But absolutely, my first passion is astrology. It's something, I knew as a child that it was very, very interesting. I would go into a bookstore, and the only section you would find me in was the astrology section.
That's so cool.
And I remember picking up my then tropical sun sign book.
Yeah, yeah. The or inauthentic, yes.
Well, but interestingly, my tropical sun sign became my true sidereal moon sign. So
Yes.
that's why the resonance is still there. It's not like your whole chart, as you know, it doesn't change completely, but it just moves things around.
Yes.
And I do realize, like, yeah, my inner consciousness and how I like feel kind of privately or instinctively, all the, and like what I need from like a comfort security basis, which is all, moon related stuff,
Yeah.
is very much Capricorn.
Yes.
And not Aquarius, if anyone's wondering what it was. My
Yeah,
tropical,
yeah.
right? So I very much resonate with the Capricorn energy still. But yeah, so I just remember as a child opening up a book and I'm like, oh my gosh, how does this book know me? It's so fascinating, isn't it? Like I always think about like how we know as children, so I often think like, just go back, like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life, or I don't know, I'm lost. I know I don't want to be doing this. I'm like, well, what was your childhood
Yeah.
interest or
Yeah.
passion?
Yes,
Because
yes, yes.
I just think we're just so much more open then
Yes, I was about to
and,
say that. It's
and
before we're taught
receptive.
not to be who we actually are.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, 10 is like borderline because I mean, by then you've, well,
Pretty much
I
imprinted.
went to school, obviously, but
Yes.
yeah, but I obviously was conditioned enough not to pursue astrology though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I just kept it as like a passion and, just knowing maybe a little bit more than the
Mhm.
average person, but not really deep diving, right? So, yeah.
It's amazing to me though, like, yeah, I will often say to clients, like, what did you love to do as a kid? And so often, and I call it the golden thread, it's like this golden thread that
Yeah.
leads you back to where you were always, meant to be or born to be or whatever you're meant
Yeah.
to be expressing in the world. I'm laughing at like, because I think that, you know, we're both very much status quo challenges as we're
Oh
having
yes. Oh
conversations about
yes.
that, right? And
Yeah.
there's a part of me that rails at this, like, I particularly lately, like Neptune's moved into Aries. I'm like, it's not going to be an Aries.
Yeah, in 2040.
Yeah,
That's when
yeah,
it works.
decades. And there's a part of me that wants to rail against it. And there's also a
Yeah.
part of me that's like, everything is meant to evolve, and every evolution starts with the pioneers and the paradigm shifters that begin it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful that our paths have crossed.
I'm so grateful. And I totally hear you on, like, when I see those posts, there's something that really quite strongly rises up and
Yes.
I'm just like, oh, but what's so interesting is being able to catch that and not react, right? It's like, okay, how do I want to respond here? I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I get inspired. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to jump on Instagram and I'm going to talk about this Saturn Neptune conjunction.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, but it's a choice, it's not reactive anymore in that
Yeah,
same way.
100%.
So yeah,
Um,
and yeah, we
I
yeah.
think too, for me, like you were saying, and this is for anyone who doesn't understand the difference. Nick's got lots of information on her Instagram about this, the difference between tropical and true sidereal, because we don't want to, like, that we're here for something
Yeah.
else. We're here for a
Yes,
specific
exactly.
purpose.
We're here for something else.
But I will say my experience with understanding a little bit, like, I'm not astrology, like, astrology is like a kind of second different language to me. I don't really get it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
diving
yeah.
in, but it's not something that becomes naturally. But I do notice, like, I had such a resistance, like, I've been an Aquarian sun my entire life, and there's something really cool about being an Aquarian
And
sun.
and I get it, because Aquarius is the rebel,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Oftentimes that's how it's described.
And
Yeah.
that, like, humanitarian and the, like, status quo challenging and whatever. And I was sad. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be a Capricorn sun. That sounds so boring. But only because this sounds so awful. It's like I've got Capricorn, like, anti-Capricorn, like, mindset or something. I used to work in a particular workplace where there was someone who I was, like, managing a team, and there's one
Yeah.
particular person who was a real stickler.
Yeah.
And she used to drive me insane. I used to have a lot of, like, moments in the toilet at work going, because I'm like, it doesn't freaking well matter. Like, stop asking me, because, I'm more of a visionary, right? Like, I'm more here than down in the weeds. And she was a Capricorn. So as soon as I was like, when I had my true
Oh,
sidereal,
your mind immediately made that connection.
she's awful, because she is also a beautiful human being. But at that time of my own evolution, she used to trigger the fuck out of me. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
And also, she's probably not, right?
yeah,
In the
well,
true
exactly.
sidereal.
Exactly. She's probably Sagittarian. Well,
She
anyway.
is such, yeah, which also then is, yeah, that's an interesting. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
that's this
exactly.
is so this is the
But
other thing that I just want to mention, like, if we're, talking about astrology, is like, yes, the sun sign obviously is
this is what I was going to
important,
say. Yes.
but we're
It's
not
not the
just
whole
our sun.
picture.
It's
No.
not the whole picture. And your sun could be making aspects, right? It could be contacting, speaking to another planet that totally
Changes the vibe.
changes,
Yeah.
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 So.
I think, like, but I have to say too, like, it's been maybe a year since I came across the whole true sidereal kind of landscape. And excuse me, I have to say that over time, I'm like, I can so understand that I have a very strong Capricorn, like, very, like, you just give me the destination and I'm just going to put one. I'm like a dog with a bone, and I'm very determined, and often at, like, a lack of self-care. Like, I can definitely see. But also, as you said, like, there's Aquarius all through my chart. Like, there's other places in Aquarius that actually make even more sense.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to come back to something that you said. So I think for me, when people say, oh, but I'm this in, like, just say sun sign.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, that's like saying I'm a manifester. It's like the broadest bucket to put yourself in. Yeah. And it really doesn't give you any of the nuance, any of the beauty of energetics or anything. So it's like, let's stop talking about the highest, like, not highest, but, the least nuance of the
exactly,
to understand ourselves, because I feel like, and I don't really understand the aspects and things, but when you get to that level of detail, then there's that recognition and the self-compassion that can come from that, of like, oh, yeah, I understand why that might be a bit tricky, or I can understand why I've been resisting that in myself, but it's actually one of the things that
Exactly.
is a genius zone, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm sure there, equally there are lots of people out there who are like, well, I don't really resonate with this generic. And
Correct.
that's, and that has then led to them being like, oh, astrology is like whatever,
Yeah.
But then
Yes.
it's like, well, yeah, because it could have been from a different lens, but then also, again, the aspect and
Yes.
all of that plays in. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's so much deeper than that.
I know, right? Don't throw the system out with the bathwater, please.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. I want to go back to what you were saying as a child, like you're interested in astrology. What do you think captured you about it? Like, was it the self-understanding piece or
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
think so.
So
I
that
think
depth.
with, not being able to put it into words as a 10-year-old,
Yes.
but now when I'm reflecting, like, what was it that just went, ooh, that made me kind of sit up and pay attention, right?
Yes.
And
Quite
I
literally.
really think it was just like, like it felt like I was reading about myself,
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does this book know? And what is it, Capricorn? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes. Tell me
and I
more.
and I have somewhere also had like an sort of an interest for like symbols and symbolism,
Yes.
like, because every sign has its glyph, it's like, oh, what glyph am I? Kind of, that kind of, that's a bit more, I don't know how to describe it, but like, you just, if you see it, you're like, that's
Yeah, there's a recognition.
there's a recognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of liked all of that. But yeah, so I think it really was, without knowing really as a 10-year-old, it was, wow, a tool for
Yeah.
self-understanding,
Yes, yes. And I think too, like I know that you also help people understand their kids through their charts as well.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
like, when I first like went back into human design after being exposed to tropical, after doing two like certifications, but more self-study things, and I still wasn't like it was all up here, but not in my body, right? I was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
just don't. I'm like trying to understand something. And then when I actually started to really get it from a like reading the chart through an energetic lens, not like a like this channel equals that, like a rope,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like from an
This equals
energetic.
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was like, this should be parenting 101,
Mm.
partnering 101,
Yeah.
self-understanding 101, because I'm like, it, and I think the thing that really has like it's such a funny full circle moment because as a geneticist, like one of the
Yes.
things I loved about genetics was is literally the science of individuation. Like every
Yeah.
single person is different, even if you're
Yeah.
a identical twin, like epigenetically.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
And so because I'm always like I remember when I first started coaching and if like I was working with someone who had like a real self-worth thing or something, I'm like, do you know
Mm.
how miraculous it is that you're actually here?
Yeah.
Like that every single
Yeah.
biological process, everything single, like your parents had to meet that, like the conception had to work, but also
Yeah.
even since
Yeah.
then, every single thing that had to
Yeah.
happen to just get you onto this plane is a
Yeah.
miracle.
Yeah. I know.
It's literally a miracle. I don't know. There's like not almost 9 billion of us, which might seem like it's not miraculous, but it bloody well is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also when I discovered like the depth of human design, the way that I'm starting to understand it, I'm like, this is the answer to
Yeah.
relationship conflict,
Yeah.
even the fucking power plays and bullshit that go on in the world. Like
Yeah.
everything to me can be
Yeah.
explored through an energetics lens and a power differential and how we hold certain individuals higher than others, like
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
systems of oppression, right? And that's actually
Totally.
something that I like, I just did an example with the Capricorn thing. I hate how in some astrology circles and some human design circles, it's like there's better signs and better times
Oh,
than other times.
oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I know. I can't stand that. It's very clickbaity too. Like, oh, which is it? And I think I actually did a post about it months ago now, because it was
Yeah, yeah,
last year. And it was, yeah, which are the best and the worst signs,
yeah.
And I knew people would probably be like, I'm like, spoiler, there aren't any.
Yeah, exactly. And
Like,
we've all got everything anyway.
that's the thing. That's the thing. And I've often spoken about Virgo,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
some poor reason, right? Or not poor reason, but for some reason, poor Virgo rather gets such a bad rap. I get
I have two
it. Like,
tropical Virgo daughters
oh,
who are not Virgo. Anyway,
and I
whatever.
totally get it. Like,
Yeah.
Virgo can be very critical and like super analytical, and they want it just so, and
Yes, yes.
they're critical, but really because they're critical of themselves, right?
Yes.
And so there's that projection happening.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I think we can all agree that we can be that way.
Yes,
right?
100%.
And certain things trigger that in us. And, you know, that's where the natal chart comes in, and you can actually see, oh, what house is ruled by Virgo. And so for my own example, my 8th house of like shared resources, intimacy and sex is ruled by Virgo. I can tell you, it kind of gets in the way sometimes.
Do you know what? You go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because I've also, so I have 2 quite heavy planets in my 8th house. So like, you know, and it's not my sun, it's not my moon or anything like that, but I have Saturn and Pluto in there, and it's like, oh my gosh, and they're making a conjunction. So, you know, there's just no way you can get away from, you know, the 8th house. And depending on the house system, that can move into the 7th, right? But it still makes sense because it's about relationships and, you know, marriage. And you know, it's been challenging, you know, but on a much deeper level. 8th house is like, you know, the 7th house is like, you know, what you see kind of surface level, you know, and then the 8th house is like, under the covers, right? So, and I can just, for me, I can totally see how Virgo also gets in there and can be a bit of a obstacle, or, you know, but knowing that, you know, and then knowing what the higher frequencies of Virgo are, then you can consciously, you know, move towards that. I really feel like it's all about consciousness.
Yes. And I think too, it's the shadow and the light of everything, right? I'm pretty sure I have got like 4 planets in the 8th house.
Yeah. And so I naturally gravitate towards 8th house themes, right? Because of my own lived experience, and then, how are other people navigating it? And, you know, can it show me something more? Can it, you know, to better understand, why am I this way? Like, and you know, the eighth house is also the house of triggers. Like, we need another, like, we will get triggered. That's just accept it. You will get triggered in the 8th house, but it requires another person for the trigger to happen. Unfortunately, you know, so I look at my husband, I'm like, you're my curse and my gift. You know, you're both, right? But and this is another thing that I'm going to probably delve into and kind of see what I can kind of create. But I do think there's like some kind of correlation between like what sign rules your house, and how you show up in the bedroom. You know?
Oh,
and I think like, and you know, what's my partner's? You know, is it compatible? And you know, all that kind of thing, right? And like, and you know, and I think honestly, I feel like a lot of, yes, of course, you have like the elements, right? Typically fire and air, you know, complement each other more, and then earth and water, and then the other ones are a little, you know, so there is that. I mean, nature is nature. You know, that's we can't get away from it. But, you know, I do also think there is a lot of free will, you know. And if there's love, and if there's, you know, compassion and respect, then you know, we can move towards something that actually works together, you know. So especially in like a couple's situation, I think
too, like I have to say, like, we've been married, it's actually, tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of my first date with my husband. 25th of February 1996.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. But I have to say that for both of us, like, you know, every single marriage, you bring in all of the, you know, baggage and wounding from your own childhood, and you're trying to smush 2, you know, family cultures together, and like all of those things. It's not freaking easy. And I think for me, like, I don't know why I was thinking this the other day, but you know, when they like interview people, oh, you've been married for 50 years, what's the secret? You know, that those sort of, and I'm like,
give me the one thing,
well, the one thing. I know. I watch one of those, and then one of the men's like, having a nip of whiskey together at 10 o'clock at night every night. I'm like, pass.
Oh my gosh, that's like the worst.
I know, right?
I need to do that. Okay, no, it's not gonna work.
But I think my only thing is like, stay in the room. Stay in the room. Like, that's it. Like, sometimes you're going to trigger the fuck out of each other, and sometimes you let each other down. And there's all sorts of learnings and unlearnings. I think staying in the room and keeping your mouth closed when it doesn't need to be said, which I'm not great at. But also,
you're aware of it.
Coming back and being like, you know what, I really fucked that up. Like, I don't want to act like that towards you, and I wouldn't want to receive it either. Like, I think that's all very 8th housey, sort of like, you know, like you're going to rub I think that
Yeah.
any relationship where there isn't friction, someone is lying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
literally just don't
Yeah,
think that.
exactly. No, because there's definitely like you said, we totally all have baggage, and the eighth house especially is like, it's about inheritance, financial, but it's
Mhm.
also about energetic inheritance
Yes.
from our parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay,
And generationally, right? Because like
generate, yeah,
epigenetically, like we are already imprinted before we get here. Yeah, it's
exactly, yeah,
I want to get to your specific area of interest, but I'm just wondering,
yeah.
given that we've spoken about the eighth house, do we have enough space to go through just quickly the houses? Because I want to set the scene for why this particular house has been
Sure. Yeah, we could do that.
attracted you.
Yes.
Because it sounds like as we're talking, Nick, I get this feeling of like you almost like dancing with all of the different parts of the house, and some feel very like juicy to you,
Oh
or
yeah,
there's something to learn here, or something that feels important to dive into.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good.
And actually, my chart, if you look at my chart, it's
Yeah.
very top heavy. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't have any planets 1 to 6 or
Really?
7 even. I don't have any planets. Yeah, 1 to 7. I have no
So
planets.
what does that for people like me that have no freaking idea like of
Hmm.
how to even look at a chart? What
Mm.
if you saw that in someone else, what would you immediately think? Like there's
Well, I would immediately think that their life in this lifetime is really about the other, like more, like quite a more of a public.
public and
And when I say
collective,
public or like visible or, or like
kind of collective.
working
Yes.
towards a collective,
Yeah,
working
yeah.
towards something that is like a collective vision is
Do
is
you have
probably quite important.
mostly collective circuitry in your human design? That
Oh
makes
gosh,
sense.
I can't. No,
I have I
I
have
don't
all
know that.
collective. Oh no. Oh,
Oh,
you're all but one. I have one tribal and then everything else is collective. Yeah.
you know what? I can't. Oh, I can't actually remember,
No,
but I do
it's not
know.
something I know off the top of my head either. I'm not meaning to put you
Yeah,
on the spot. I'm
yeah.
just interested.
Yeah. So that would be like the first thing that
That's what
I
you would
would
think.
pick
Yeah.
up on.
Yeah.
And then obviously, okay, is there a house that's specifically more
Yes.
active than another? So
Focus.
that would
Yes.
also. So for me, it's the 11th house, which is
Yeah.
also like totally. I'll get to
Yeah.
it
Yeah. So
in a
take us
few.
on a quick tour and then I want to get
Yeah.
into
Okay. So basically, so the first house is basically you. Your identity can be a physical appearance, how you show up in the world, that kind of thing, right? And I'm going to take it just very
yes,
simply
and
for
yes, we're not meaning this to be a textbook. We're meaning it to
yeah.
be just a little introduction.
Yeah. But for example, if you have quite an active first house, you could very well, people would see that
Yes,
quite,
okay.
you wouldn't be secretive. Let's put it
Yes.
that way, right?
Yeah.
All there for everyone to see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and then second house is about your own resources. So my resources,
Yeah.
money, finances, security,
Mhm.
safety, that kind of thing. Skills and talents also come into the second house.
Mhm.
Third house is communication, education, siblings, your
Yeah.
local environment.
Hmm.
Fourth house is a home, family, ancestral lineage, childhood kind of
Yeah.
comes in there
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
The
That's
fifth house.
where I have Pluto in retrograde in my fourth house.
Okay, yes.
Something
Yeah.
tricky. I can't remember.
Mm.
Yeah. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
No, so that's quite an important house for you. Yeah. The fifth house is the fun house. Everyone could just remember that. That's how I always explain it when I do readings as well. It's like, of all houses, the fifth house is a fun house because
Yep.
it's creativity, it's self-expression, it's pleasure, it's
Cool.
love, it's joy. It's like, it's kind of also the house where you would have an affair in, that kind of,
Yeah. Like the
yeah, yeah,
saucy
kind of
vibes.
yeah. So hobbies, games, that kind of thing comes
Yeah.
into the fifth house. Children,
Yeah.
it's a house of children. So sixth house is daily work, habits, routines, health, kind of unequal work relationships. So like employer, employee,
Yeah.
can be pets as well. Seventh house, marriage,
Yeah.
committed relationships, one-to-one relationships, business partnerships, any legal matters come into the seventh house.
Yeah.
Eighth house, as we've kind of spoken about, the juicy.
Yeah. The stuff under the cover.
Yeah. So, and if you think about it, so the eighth house is opposite the second house.
Yes.
So it carries kind of similar themes, but it's shared in the eighth house, right? Whereas in the second, it's mine.
Yeah.
Right. It's my resources, my money. Whereas up in the eighth, it's other people's money. And that's why things like inheritance. Oh my gosh, what? Debts, loans, taxes.
Yes.
Those kind of things come into the eighth, right?
Yeah.
Ninth house is also the other fun house because it's like long distance travel. It's higher learning, right? Because it's opposite the third house, which is more like primary education. And it's where you find the meaning of life, right? It's philosophy, it's religion, it's, kind of like, what is life about?
That kind of makes sense to me because I have a lot going on in the ninth as well. I'm just about to leave the country for a year.
Yeah. And then the 10th house is typically the house of career, your public role in society, your visibility, what you're an authority on, authority figures. Oh, and then depending on it, I mean, there's no like, oh, the father is always in the 10th house and the mother is always in the fourth. It's not like that. Again, it's very dependent on a person's chart.
Yeah.
But a lot of people tend to put the father in the 10th because whichever parent was a more dominant in terms of, who kind of showed you, like, these are the rules, like, this is what's accepted in society, right? And that could, in my case, totally my mother.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Well, in some households, that would not have been
totally my mother. But interestingly, because of the planet I have in the 10th house, it's both my parents in there.
Yeah, right.
It's so fascinating. Anyway, and the 11th house is the house of hopes, dreams, and wishes. It's a house of good fortone, actually. It doesn't get spoken about a lot, I feel, but traditionally.
Why?
Yeah, I know,
like
right?
The most important one to me.
I know. And it's the house of the collective. It's friendships, groups, larger organizations. It has that kind of. I don't like to kind of, what's it called, blend house and sign too much. But Aquarius is the natural ruler of the 11th house, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
But not everyone's 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. So
yeah. That's the bits where I'm like, my brain just goes, I don't understand. But that's okay. That's why we have you. That's your
And then we have the 12th house, which is kind of the focus of today's.
Yes, it is. I'm so excited.
Cool, right? So the 12th house is the house of spirituality, solitude, retreat. If you were to think of places, actual places, places like prisons, like mental institutions, hospitals, actual retreats would fall into the 12th house. So that's kind of the themes. It's also like the house of self-undoing is what you'll often hear.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it's kind of, so again, Neptune and Pisces kind of belong in there, right? So, on the higher end, it's like extreme creativity and imagination and healing arts and those kind of things. But on the other end, so it's kind of like, what's your dream? What's your fantasy, right?
Yes.
But if you can't deal with your own reality,
then it's actually
I mean that's back, where back, but it's also, so people who, like, you can see this in like kind of famous, entertainers charts, right? The ones who've gone to rehab a lot, the ones that have a drug or alcohol addiction, strong, either Neptunian vibes or placements, right? Because that's how you self-undo, right? Because you just can't, it's too harsh. Reality for you is too harsh. So you have to create this other reality for yourself.
Yeah, right.
And you want to do it in a healthy way, not in a destructive way.
Yeah, exactly. As you're talking, that makes me think of the word capacity, because it's like, can I hold the reality and the dream at the same time, which often, depending on your capacity, it is tricky for people. And then obviously what we're going to be talking about now is that, so the 12th house is also often associated with the unconscious or the subconscious. And I also now like to see it as a super conscious, again, higher and lower frequencies. Yes.
And so I'd say like around last summer, I really started getting very drawn to, well, first of all, I was just deep diving into Pluto. And Pluto as a planet is about the collective unconscious as well, right? I mean, all those outer planets, so Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, kind of talk about some kind of unconsciousness on the collective level. And with Pluto, it really is about like, you know, the very deepest stuff that we don't kind of, that we're just very unconscious about, right? But I was so drawn to like, you know, really understanding what Pluto is in our charts. Like how to, because I have Pluto in my 8th house, how is that kind of, you know, influencing things? And I think, you know, Carl Jung said it. He said it best, right? Until you make the unconscious conscious, you know, you will view life as fate, as if your life is ruled by fate, right? And so I think it's really, I mean, we're just doing ourselves a service to begin with, just ourselves, if we start digging, you know. But then last year, all of last year was just a whole, you know, it was very Jupiterian in the sense that it was like higher learning and, you know, going into like all kinds of learnings and courses about, you know, kind of manifestation and subconscious and how, because essentially I really do believe that we create our reality. And that can be really hard to accept, you know, especially when our external is like, I created that.
Yeah, there's a bitter pill to swallow, right? But also exciting once you realize it and surrender to that understanding.
Exactly. And I also often think like, well, you know, those times when you've just had something amazing happen and it seems like you had no role in it, right? You have had a role in it, right? And if you think about the fact that we only use 5% of our brain, right?
Isn't it wild?
Like, what if we even use just a little bit more? Like if that thing was magical, it could be even more magical, you know? So that's kind of where all of this started taking me down. And interestingly, in my chart, progressed Mercury, which is a separate chart that we can talk about some other time.
I know. I'm like, we need like 10 different episodes. Anyway.
My progressed Mercury moved into the 12th house.
Yeah, right.
At around this time, right? So it's like typically, you know, when we talk about the progress chart, it's more of a symbolic unfolding. It's not necessarily anything that you'll see on the external, but, you know, something was being moved inside of me that took me down, you know, these paths, right? And it was really while I was reading this book by, what's his name? Joseph Murphy, I think, from the 60s, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. That I was reading it and I was like, okay, isn't there a way? Like, I wonder, I do remember asking like a wonder question. I wonder how one could relate the subconscious to one's own natal chart. Right? Because there's so much talk about the subconscious and do this and manifest this. And so I'm a little around the word manifestation.
Yeah, right? I agree completely. Because I think it's a buzzword that is used to make people money.
Exactly. But it is a good word.
Yeah, of course it is.
So I do have to use it in this sense. And so I just thought, well, maybe could one of the reasons be that it's so hard for us sometimes to like get our minds around it? And I know often it's not really our minds that need to kind of get in there, right? Can it be difficult because, you know, we're just following someone else's script?
That's what I was just about to say. This is my whole anti-manifestation thing. Because like everything that we always talk about, it's like there is no one size fits all that magically manifests, because if you strip manifestation, the word, back to its essence, it is having something that is not yet real become real. That's it. So there is no magical formula that will do that for every single person, and we all have different wiring that will allow us to enable manifestation to work. And I think for a lot of us, the way that we use it is to manifest shit accidentally, not intentionally, obviously. I'm not saying that, but recreating old patterns from childhood.
Exactly. And also, you know, could it be that we're manifesting crap because when you do kind of, because it is becoming more conscious. You are working more with your consciousness, right? But then unconscious stuff might surface. Yes. You know, and then we're not ready for that. And then we're like, and then subconsciously that ends up affecting, you know, the way we we decide to do something, or the way we, react. So I think it's like that. So that's kind of where I was. And again, I have not discovered like the thing that's going to do it for you,
No, but you've created something that helps people find their own way. That's what I like about
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. So, I mean, I call it, so this framework that I've created is called the 12th house Superconscious Scripting. And it's a loose framework. I feel like I kind of, give you some guidelines and as to what to think about. And it basically is looking at your 12th house. Now, I typically do not just focus on one house, like in a natal chart, unless you have like, 5 planets,
everything in it.
It's like, we have to talk about this house, right?
We can't pretend that that's not there.
No, and then you could talk about it for an hour, But typically, when you want to kind of look at it holistically. But for this specific exercise, we are looking at the subconscious, right? And initially it was a subconscious, but then as I was having conversations with people, and this woman I met, she said, oh, but there's a conscious and a subconscious, but then there's also the superconscious. And I think like everything went ding, like, oh, I need to like this, there's something here for me,
Yes.
And so I just started just kind of thinking about it a bit more. Oh, and then I got to read The Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn. This book was written back in 1925. And Kylie, when you read it, you're going to be like, this is what all you guys have taken your material from. I get it. Okay.
I love the OG books, right? It's like, oh my God, I want to know you back in 1920. Can you imagine being a woman writing a book like that in 1920 something?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. And it's so relevant. It's so relevant. So I implore you to get.
You've got to give me the details and I'll put it in the show notes.
It's actually not very, I don't have it myself. It's actually, because it's from 1925, it's a little difficult to find, but you can look it up on YouTube, and there's this one account that actually reads it out loud, but also shows you just the page that they're reading.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so for me, I love it because I'm like listening and reading, right? And this is one of these books that you don't want to just read it once. No. You read it the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, right? But and then you realize, okay, so this is what that manifestation guru is talking about. Oh, and this is what they're talking about. And they've just taken things, and like no one's reinvented anything, right? Or you don't have to. Like it's. But what's amazing to me is like, we've moved so far away from this, and I feel like if more people just read her book, for example, and it kind of took in, and it might seem a little woo to people, but it is like, it's not just facts and evidence and proof, there's got to be both, right? And I think we've totally lost that kind of more of that. Basically, it's Jupiter. The way that I explain it, I mean, Jupiter is faith, taking that leap of faith. I don't know.
I don't know. I have no evidence for this, but I'm choosing it.
Whereas Mercury, which is again the opposite in the house, right? Mercury is the one that is like, okay, give me the facts.
Yes.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've gone a little bit too much towards Mercury and not enough with Jupiter, right?
100%.
So then in this book, I think it's like on the first page, she talks about how the mind has 3 parts: superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here it is from 1925,
So wild, isn't it?
And then
I love how the universe is just like, Nic, this is part of your purpose in life. So I'm just going to drop the breadcrumbs. And you could not listen. Like that's a conscious choice. That's where free will comes in.
Exactly.
I love it when, like, as you're talking, you're having what I like to call like chiropractic adjustments of the soul, when something.
Yes.
I cannot ignore that. Like, this is go time. Like, I have to go down this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So, and by this point, actually, I'd already been doing the framework.
Yeah.
And I had, some beautiful souls, one of them being you, right? Join join. And I thought it would be, well, initially I thought, hey, this is going to be fun. Okay. Like it'll be fun for me. I want to try it out, but also how would it be for others? Because this really, it would be or is specific to your chart. So we should really all have quite different experiences.
Yes. And this is what I love about it, because it isn't saying I am Nic and I am the guru and this is how you manifest. Which
and this is what the result will be. No, your result will be, and now that I reflect on it, the results have been exactly what each person has needed.
Yes.
Actually. And that is nothing that I can orchestrate.
No. You know? Or no.
So, no. Yeah, I know.
How could you
I wish. I wish.
I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
When
so go on. Yeah, no, go on.
No, I was going to say, just so that for people that are listening, so like you don't have to talk about the framework in detail, but just you're taking what is in the 12th heart for each heart. 12th heart. The 12th
that's also nice. Yeah.
for each person, and then that person is putting in place the framework, which I love because it isn't a rigid framework. It's I actually skipped a step.
Yeah.
That's just typical Kylie. And you're actually also asking the person to feel into things for themselves, for the way that they're going to work with this as well.
Yes, exactly.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about, like, and actually one thing that we have to say before this is, this is actually something that people can buy now from your website.
Yes, exactly.
Just be aware that if what we're talking about with True Sidereal, True Sky Astrology versus Tropical is kind of feeling juicy for you, maybe when you do it, you might want to be working with your True Sidereal chart.
Yeah. I
don't know whether you actually specifically say that. Probably.
Actually, you know what? It's so funny because for me now, there is only True Sidereal.
Yeah, me too.
Like, so I kind of actually forget that, oh yeah, hang on, someone might have a question about, but it is totally up to you. Yes. You know, if you're still very wedded to the tropical system, then just work with that, you know, like it's very much dependent on what you would like to do. But, you know, of course, I do see the True Sidereal, like peeling back layers.
Yes.
You know, like you have the tropical and then you have the True Sidereal, and then it's like, oh, okay, right? And since we are working with things that are quite deep, you know, and like really the essence of us.
Yes.
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I would say I would strongly recommend working with your True Sidereal chart. So the framework itself is basically 11 very short audios, and I deliberately made them short because everyone's attention span is just...
Well, also, we don't need more information. We need integration.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm so clear on that.
Yeah.
Like, we are full of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it shouldn't be this very difficult thing to do. And also, if anyone's wondering, oh, do I need to know astrology? No, you don't need to know any astrology. Like you could just listen to my tracks and you would be guided. And there's nothing more than that. And you would just, it's about connecting with the planet or planets. I do recommend not to work with more than two, because I think it just becomes a bit too much in the mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Essentially what you're doing is you're working with your 12th house planet. You're getting to know the energy in your 12th house.
Yes.
You know, and I think a lot of the times we're quite unconscious of it. You know, it is, you know, it's the house of the hidden things. It's not typically anywhere where we go. And 1 to 11, the way that I mentioned and described it, it's all very kind of 3D. Like it's you know, there's cause and effect. The 12th is like, ooh, nebulous. And do you really need to know a lot about that planet? Not really. But I do have separate tracks for each planet with some keywords. Just, you know, because someone who's never done astrology, I mean, we all know the sun and the moon, right? Yeah. Pretty much. But let's say you have Uranus in there, right? Like what is Uranus?
What does that
planet, you know? And so I do throw some keywords, but again, I want to make it as accessible and easy to everyone. So I don't really think necessarily that it's important for this. Yes. There's just like, you know, one track about, let's say, Uranus, keywords, and then, you know, what the glyph looks like. Essentially, the reason I created it is because, we want to create the best life, our best life ever. But we also know, even though we don't know necessarily what the blocks are, that we have blocks, right? And we have these beliefs that don't really belong to us, right? Like these subconscious beliefs, basically.
Yes. And they're not aligned to what the best life is. Like, otherwise we would have the best life.
Exactly. And so, someone listening now might be like, oh, hang on, you mentioned the 3 parts to the mind. Okay, so like what, everyone knows what the conscious mind is, but what's the difference between the superconscious and the subconscious then, right? Well, the subconscious is all the conditioning, right? Is a habitual, and also the habitual thoughts and beliefs that we picked up, in utero, as a little baby, as a toddler, as a child, as a young adult, et cetera, right? From all different sources. And the superconscious is essentially our higher mind, the one that knows all the answers. Because just think of those times when you've just known. You've just known. How do I know that? And that could, for me, it's actually a voice. I actually like hear a voice, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll act on this, That is literally your superconscious, so it's available to us. And the thing is, I know that it's available to us all the time. It's just that we're not
accessing it.
You were not consciously accessing it, right? And so what this framework does is, kind of help you along on that way, right? And the way to see if it works for someone, I guess, right? I recommend that you take a belief that is not serving you, right? So, one that's very common is self-worth, right? So you take that belief and you want to kind of change it. And it's not enough to maybe sometimes say, just affirm your way, out of it. But that, it just kind of gets stuck here, right?
Well, and also to me, affirmations are ignoring the fact that your subconscious is running on automatic pilot in the background anyway. So you can put whatever you want in your conscious mind, but if your subconscious is not being dealt with, like like putting something on a misaligned foundation and expecting it to magically work. And I think that's why I don't love some of the manifestation teachers, because it's almost a bit victim blamey when the manifestation doesn't happen. It's like, well, problem. And it's like, no, you're putting something on top of something that needs tending at a different level.
You're not addressing, the underlying, it's kind of just, slapping something on. And, it could work maybe for a little bit, but then it stops, or,
And as you're talking about the superconscious as well, Nic, I haven't made this association before, but because I often will explain things like I often do like self kind of awareness and self-mastery process through the lens of like internal family systems. So when you're talking about the superconscious, the parallel that kind of feels true in my body is that authentic self, because like the self with the capital S, which I call the wild woman, like the part of me that knows everything that I need to know, knows who I am, is very grounded, very calm. It's very different to the subconscious, like firefighters and protectors that are, trying to run interference because they think that you're unsafe and you're a little kid still. That is a really cool understanding for me, because I'm like, of course this works, because it's like, it's really letting your higher self deal with the stuff that's in the subconscious.
Exactly. And therefore, the way that I see it is that it's the superconscious that communicates with the subconscious. Like the conscious mind can't, we've all done it. That's the affirming, right? You're consciously affirming and you're thinking you're going to change the subconscious.
Correct.
But the subconscious doesn't change by logic, right?
No.
You can read all books on this, and where it says like it's not that, right? It's so, and the superconscious, it communicates through symbolism, through visuals, through feeling, through and that's why, like, when they're more connected, that's when I believe that the subconscious can start changing, right? And that's what we want to be doing.
All right, friends, as you can already tell, we had to split this episode into 2 parts because it was so juicy. So that is part 1 that you've just listened to. Come back next week. We will be publishing part 2, where we dive into how the 12th house can be a gateway to working with our superconscious and some of the amazing results that Nic's community has experienced through this work. So tune in. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If this episode lit a fire in your body, in your business, deep down in your bones, please take a moment to drop a rating and review so more rebels just like you can find us. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with your disruptive rebel and revolutionary friends who are ready to roar right alongside of you. Until next time, stay wild, stay unapologetic, and stay fucking free.